need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My next question is coming from Benjamin, and he is writing from La Mirada, California. Hi, Betsy. I love listening to your show on my way to work. Your voice sounds so calming to me. I love your storytelling, and your solutions are always spot on. My wife and I have a dilemma on what color to paint our staircase handrails on the staircase and entrance. Currently, it's a red oak with white spindles and newels. The staircase risers and treads are also red oak, as well as our living room floors and front door, which are also red oak. We want to update the area by getting rid of all the red oak, except for the floor. Our design is traditional transitional with rosewood furnishings. Should we paint the handrails and front door all in white to match the spindles and newels? Or should we paint the handrails a glossy black or dark brown to match the furniture? But then we feel it wouldn't match the staircase steps, as we're going to keep the floors the red oak. Please help us. Thank you for your time and good luck with your pregnancy. Wishing you a happy, healthy baby. Well, thank you, Benjamin, so much. I really appreciate that. Now, when looking at these pictures, the floors are a pretty big visual element in your space. And typically I keep all the architectural elements, so the handrails, the stairs, the floors, the same in terms of the finishes, right? And then the furniture does not have to match. Guys, your architecture in terms of the wood floor stain does not have to match your furniture. In fact, sometimes that can feel too matchy-matchy. So I am totally fine with the furniture not matching these elements. The thing that is bothering me is that these pieces of staircase would then not match the flooring, which to me feels quite incongruous. And you mentioned in your note that your style leans more towards, transitional, traditional. And I worry that painting it black in terms of the handrail would just feel very severe. Now, I understand if this color of wood is not your favorite, but what I would be more inclined to do is do a stairway runner, which is like a carpeted stairway, going all the way up that will conceal quite a bit of this wood. And then I would leave the post painted white, and I definitely think you could paint the front door. So I think the front door being the same tone is not a necessity, but I think it will feel very odd if you're changing the color of the stairs and handrail and don't change the color of the flooring. If you really don't like this color and you're going to be here a long time, it may be worth changing the color of the flooring. But in my opinion, and based on the question you asked, I would go with the path of least resistance, right? And add a stairway runner and paint the front door. Now, the front door typically would be painted the same color as the trim, right? Or depending on what the front of the front door is, you could do a fun color, something like that. But I think this is the opportunity to break free. I also think that you could consider adding more rugs, painting this main area a different color, just to draw your eye away from the flooring if resanding and restaining the floor just isn't in your budget. It might be a way to help detract, because right now this floor is very featured because it's so uncovered, because there's so much of it. I would challenge your furniture layout. So the next time you write me, maybe write me with some furniture layout questions, because I think a nice big rug under the dining table would be quite impressive. I think a larger rug showcasing the living area would be really nice. And this is a big open concept space for those of you not seeing the pictures on YouTube. When we have big open concept spaces, it can be tempting to carve out tiny corners or tiny vignettes within the space on little rugs. But really, we want to make each zone feel as large as it is while still allowing for a 3-foot walkway between the zones. So I'm not suggesting wall-to-wall carpeting or having a carpet that just leaves you with a little narrow runway on which you can walk. I do think you do need to separate these with ample space, but you've left too much space. Between the edge of the living room rug and the piano, there's at least 6 feet. And so it's making that living room look so small and dinky. And what's further emphasizing the fact that your living room is kind of small and dinky, even though it could be made larger visually with that rug, and it is a good size square foot wise, is that you have these huge vaulted ceilings. I mean, I think these ceilings are between 15 and 18 feet high. And so, we really want to rise to the occasion, not only by expanding kind of our furniture and making it fit the scale of the space, but also going a little bit higher with our artwork. So you have artwork that's not very tall, and it's really dwarfing the walls, dwarfing the space. So I would want you to focus on some more vertical pieces. I would also want you to focus on maybe some out of scale, large scale pieces, the large mirror. I think right now your furniture is playing as if it was in an 8-foot high room with small little rooms. And instead, you've got this big open concept space, and you're really not bringing a big picture or big vision to it. So I know that's a lot more than you asked, Benjamin. And now you're in your car driving to work or whatever, and you're so frustrated. You're like, Betsy, this was much more than I bargained for, and I don't want to make any of those changes. But I think you're focusing on all the wrong things, Benjamin. And I think by refocusing on these problems that I think are much more dire, you're going to get a better effect. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy, who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller, who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.